once you've made your buttercream, you can store this in the fridge. You can even freeze it. How I store it, I usually make it up and I'm going to use it that same day. I use a clean new cloth which I just wet and squeeze out the water, and that goes over the top of the icing just to seal it. The cloth will prevent it from crisping, and I also seal the jug with an airtight lid, and that will be fine, left out on your countertop and ready for you to use. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add some color to the buttercream I've already made. If it's slightly soft, because I'm going to be piping flowers, if it's a bit on the soft side, I add a little bit of the extra icing powder to it. So I'm just going to add a little bit into each one, just to stiffen it a little bit, otherwise my petals are going to fall down. So I'm adding about half a tablespoon into each one, and then I'll see if it's firm enough. And I'm using the Color Burst range of colors. I've got the cerise, I've got the bright green, the sunlit yellow, and the olive green. So I'm just going to add a tiny drop. You literally need just a drop of color. You can see how small that amount is there. And I'm just going to mix that in with a palette knife. And the reason I'm using a palette knife is it prevents too many air bubbles getting mixed in if you use a spoon or if you use the beaters. So as I'm mixing it, I'm actually squashing it against the side of the bowl, and this eliminates the air bubbles. You can see how much the color is already developing here. And usually what I do is I mix my colors up about an hour or so beforehand. This gives the colors chance to develop nicely in the buttercream, especially if you're using deep colors like blue or red. So that tiny little drop of color is actually quite strong. Right. I'm just going to put that to one side and start on the next color. Right, now for the green, I'm using a little bit of the lime green and the olive green. Again, you need just a tiny drop. Gives it a nice tone of green. Make sure you've got all your gel mixed. You can also use powders to color your icing. Don't use the liquid food colorings that you buy in the supermarkets. Those are too runny and it'll make your icing very runny. Green. And you're going to go onto the yellow. Never over color, because you can always add, but you can't take away. So just a tiny little bit of color will go a long way. And I also find mixing in a white bowl or a glass bowl is so much easier to see the colors that you're getting. If you're using a red bowl and you're mixing red or pink, it's difficult to see your tone coming through. So I prefer to use white, and you can see your colors nice and clearly. Right, that's my yellow. Now the last one I'm just going to leave plain white. Going to add that icing sugar that's already in there. I'm just going to blend that in. Now to add a little bit of flavouring to your icing, you can use any of the Flavour Nations or any food colour flavouring. Here I've got the strawberry, and this is an essence. And just add a few drops into your icing, and just add in the others as well. I'll mix that in shortly. But this just gives it a nice flavouring. Obviously if you're using butter, you don't have to worry too much because your butter's really delicious. The white margarine just needs a little bit extra flavouring. Right. Here I've got my leaf nozzle, which is a 352, and if I hold it up, you can see it's got a little beak. Then I've got my rose petal, which is a 127. And then I've got various Russian nozzles. Okay. Right, now the easiest way to fill up your icing bags is to have a tall container, and I always pop them into the container, just fold over the top of your bag, and then you can have both your hands free and you can fill up your bags. Don't overfill your bags. If you overfill your bags, you're going to struggle to have any control whilst you're piping your flowers or your leaves or whatever. So never overfill your bags. I'm going to give this a good shake. Okay. That will just bring it down, and then just twist your bag to prevent it from oozing out the top. You can also secure it with an elastic band at the top. Right. Now I'm going to fill up my rose petal. Again, fold over. And take your icing and you can fill up. Now if you want to have a thin white edge on the tip of your petal, on the thinnest part of your nozzle, on that side where you've lined it up with the crease in the bag, you can take, let me just pop that in there. You can take some white or whatever color you want as the stripe, and I'm going to place it along the seam of that, the thinner end of the nozzle. Pop it into the bag and just wipe the palette knife along that seam so that you've got a stripe going inside there. Oops, there we go. And then I'm going to place that into the cup, and I'm going to add my pink icing and add it in carefully so you don't damage that stripe that you've just put in there. Right, I'm just going to place that in the bag. And again, give it a good shake so that it all goes down to the bottom of the bag and it's ready for piping. Hold it, secure the back, and shake it, and then it will all come down. Remember to secure your bag at the back. So there we have our piping nozzles all ready to be used. And I've also put some caramel in a piping bag, and I'm going to fill the cupcakes with some caramel. Now you can use anything for the middle. You can use mini Smarties, you can use lemon curd, you can use flavoured buttercream. So the fillings are for you to decide. I love caramel in the chocolate cupcakes, they're really tasty. Next step, I'm going to core the cupcakes and I'm going to place the caramel in the center. You take out the cake, don't eat it because you're going to need to use that. Just pop each one out. Now if you haven't got a cupcake corer, you can use a teaspoon or you can use an apple corer, just as long as you can get a hole in the center of your cupcake. So there you see, there's the holes. I'm going to take the caramel and just fill each one with caramel. This also helps to keep your cupcakes nice and moist. It's also a nice surprise when somebody bites into them. Then you take your pieces of cake that you've already cored and you place that on the top. Right. And now we're ready to ice them. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to just smear a little bit of buttercream over the top of each cupcake. Just a little bit of the green that I had left, just to give it a coating. Doesn't have to be too thick. And this is just so that the buttercream, when you pipe your petals and your flowers on here, it gives it something to adhere to. Okay, now we've got all of those done, we can start piping. So I'm going to start off with the rose, my favorite. So I'm using the 127 petal nozzle, and I'm going to pipe a little mound first in the center. You can just round it a little bit with your fingers, and then I'm going to start by piping 3 petals. Now I'm going to start in front of me and I'm going to come over. So I'm going to anchor my nozzle onto my cupcake. I'm going to pipe it up, over and down. Start again, and I'm going to start in the center of my petal that I've just piped. I'm going to anchor it. I'm going to pipe up, over and down. So you can see the petals that I'm piping. Again, I'm going to start in the center. I'm going to anchor, pipe up, over and down. So there is the bud of the rose. So again, I've piped 3 petals. My next step is 5. So now I'm going to start again in the center of that petal, pipe up, over and down, and middle, up, over and down, and I'm applying pressure from here, and we're going to pipe, that's the 4th one, and the 5th one we'll bring it together. There we go. So you can see the rose starting to form. Now I've been piping at an angle towards the center. Now I'm going to slightly straighten my angle and the rose will start to open up. So now again, now I'm piping 7 petals, and I'm going to start in the center of my last one and up, over and down. Clean your nozzle regularly, up, over and down, and so we go round. You can see by changing the angle of my piping tip how the rose is starting to open up, and there we go. Now for the next row, I need to actually bring the cupcake towards me, towards the edge of the countertop, and now I'm going to be angling it right back so that the rose petals open right up. So I'm starting at this angle, and I'm going to pipe up and down. And to finish off, I'm just going to pipe all the way around the side of that rose. And again, I have to do it right at the base. And there you have a beautiful buttercream rose. Okay, so now I'm going to onto the Russian nozzles, and I'm going to pipe about 8 flowers around the side of the edge, and then I'm going to pipe a few more in the middle. So how you pipe with the Russians is you anchor your nozzle and you apply pressure and you pipe and pull and stop, and you get a fully formed flower. I'll do that again. You anchor your nozzle, you pipe, you pull it and you stop. Do another one. You anchor it, you pipe, you pull and stop. Don't pull too high, otherwise what happens is this is what is going to happen if you don't stop pulling. You're going to pipe, 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 pull, and then your whole flower is going to collapse on you. That's what happens if you don't stop pulling. So we're going to do that again. Anchor, pipe, pull and stop. Anchor, pipe, pull and stop. Anchor, pipe, pull and stop. And so you go around doing all your flowers. Right, now we want to finish this one off with some leaves. So I'm going to be taking my 352 piping nozzle, which has got the little beak on it, and you're going to angle that into your cupcake so it looks like it's digging into it. Don't put it sideways, you want to put it in this way. So your sharp points at the top and the bottom, and you anchor and you pipe and stop. And just pull your leaves up nicely and just pop a leaf in wherever there's a little gap. And there you have your Russian nozzle. Now if I go back to my rose, I'm just going to bring my rose in front here. When you've piped your rose, if the petals are falling down a little bit, you can just gently, once they've crisped, you can actually pull them up a little bit. These are still a little bit too fresh. I need to let them crisp. But you can, with the cup of your hand, you can just gently bring them up, just so that they're not falling down too much. And there we go. Right, there's your piped cupcakes that we did earlier, the roses and the Russian nozzle cupcakes. And I hope you enjoyed today's video. Please don't forget to give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell. And I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.